I got told by my wife to watch her get pumped in the corner. She didn't laugh for very long when I... Sometimes we find ourselves falling in love and being committed to people who do not have a mutual feeling towards us. No matter how hard you tried to show them the true meaning of love, they preferred looking for it outside their marriage, breaking the vows they had made in front of their families, friends, and God himself. It gets even worse when they get into marriage knowing very well that they were not ready for the commitments. Some break their vows just because they were seeking for fun outside their marriage. What do you call that? I had thought I had chosen well. I thought I had found the one, only to find out that I had been a fool for the longest time. I was deceived by the person that I had given myself to. She was not ready for the commitment like I was. She should have said something, she should have told me that she was not ready, not to lead me on. These are the things that cause us depression as men. Does anyone know the feeling or a glimpse of what I was going through? If there is, how did you deal with it? I, male 44, am naturally a quiet and reserved guy. I respected my peace, which was why you wouldn't find or see me arguing most of the time. I try by all means to keep and maintain the peace around the environment I am in. So my ex-wife and I met a while back when I was on a business trip to another city. She was working at the company that is owned by my biggest client who I was going to be meeting with. Mary, my wife, female 42, was Mr. Pistorius's personal assistant, fake identity due to personal reasons. So we dated for a year and a half, then I proposed to her on her birthday. My sister knew something deep about Mary, but she wouldn't tell me because I had seen how she reacted when I announced my engagement with Mary. She was somehow angry and kind of disappointed in me. Her words were, "After your divorce with Anna and going back to being a busy business person, I had thought you would come back a better person and choose well not the second season of what you married the last time." I didn't understand any of the things she had said because I had thought Anna got tired of waiting and found another man who would give her enough time and attention that I had failed to do. How was my situation with Anna connected to my engagement with Mary? I think my sister was kind of bitter and jealous because she was going through a breakup with the father of her children. There was a lot that my sister was hiding from me, but I knew that whatever happened in the dark would always find its way to come out to light. Mary and I got married after 6 months. I wanted to marry a month after I had proposed to her, but she wanted to first look for her father's family members so they would be present in the wedding. I didn't understand why she was so interested in finding her father's family members, because if they had wanted to be present in her life, they would have, and it wouldn't be hard for them to attend the wedding. But what woman wants? She should get to keep her happy. I helped her look for her father's family, and to my surprise, they were not far from our hometown. They just didn't want to be present in her life because even her father was alive and healthy. I was not surprised when the family she had spent the whole 6 months looking for did not come to the wedding. The wedding continued, though, and we had the best moment of our lives. I was happy that I had gotten a chance to spend my life with the woman my heart had chosen. I wished my mother was present to witness my happy ending, not knowing that my happy ending would actually end sooner than I had expected, and my heart had chosen the worst breaker of it. Sometimes I don't understand why our hearts choose the wrong people to guide them, because I had given my heart to Mary, and she used it and stomped on it like a useless piece of paper. We got married when she was 25 and I was 27. I knew that that was the perfect age to get married to the love of your life. I mean, with Anna, I was still young and I was still trying to find my feet after I was fresh out of college. So it was understandable that would do something like what she did. A couple of months into our marriage, I had been trying to get Mary pregnant. We were not using any protection because as much as she was a body seller, she made sure to protect herself. Her words, not mine. And we had gone to the health department to check if we were both okay, and everything came back negative. That was when we started going raw. So I kept trying and trying to make her fall pregnant, but nothing was happening, which made me suspicious because if everything was fine with her, she would have gotten pregnant the time we tried for her baby. My mind kept telling me that she was hiding something. I didn't know what, but whatever it was sinister. But I trusted that she would never make me a fool, at least not like that. When I asked her why she was not falling pregnant because it had been months since we had started trying, she would always avoid the question and change the topic. The matter got worse when I had suggested that we went to the doctor to check efficiently if she was really fine, but she just busted and wanted to bite my head off. I then knew that something was smelling fish in her actions, but I couldn't tell her that. So I backed off, as much as I wanted a child to grow my family name and my legacy, but it was her body after all, and I had to respect her and her decisions. That time we were still living at home with my family. We decided to take her late sister's child and her grandmother to live with us because they wouldn't be able to take care of themselves or even live alone. Well, more like I came up with that idea. She was a bit skeptical at first, but she eventually agreed after she had thought about her family's well-being, and I needed my wife next to me at all times. The business was going pretty well, and Mary was still doing great in her kitchen department. The fast food business was growing because we had opened another spot outside our hometown. She had resigned from her previous job when we started dating because she had to move and stay with me, even though it was a process trying to convince her to move with me because of her grandmother and niece. I ended up hiring a person who would be staying with the niece and the grandmother. I was so proud of the woman she had become. I fell in love with her every single day. She kept me sane, and her communication progress was fully accomplished. Well, not fully, but she was getting there. One summer afternoon, we had decided to go out as a family. Well, more like taking grandma and the niece out for some fresh air. They were visiting at my house. I wanted my sister and brother to tag along also, but my sister's bitterness was really on another level, and she didn't even try to hide it, and my brother was always on the streets as usual. I wished my family was still intact, just like how it was when my mother was still alive. Yes, my brother was always on streets, but he was always available when it was time to spend with the family. My own family had fallen apart, and it really hurt me, because I needed them. So I went out with my wife's family. We had a lot of fun. She was happy, and so was her niece and grandmother. That was all I had wanted to see on her face. Happiness and freedom. Her smile was my priority. And another thing, she had started attending college because she wanted to get a qualification in cooking, so she had sold their old home to pay for her fees. I supported her in her dreams. She made me proud to be her man and to call her my wife. I just don't know what went wrong, but something went wrong and ruined everything. She was doing a very good job in maintaining our family, plus school and fast food business. As much as we had hired 2 people that would be hands-on in the kitchen department when she was at school, but she made sure that whenever she got time, she was taking charges. She loved to be in charge, and she was dedicated to everything she did. A couple of months later, her grandmother passed on in her sleep. None of us knew what had happened that had led to her passing. My wife was devastated. She was really hurt. She had shut me out to a point that she eventually went back to the Mary she was. She distanced herself even from her niece, so I had to take charge and take care of everything, including her niece and business. She grieved the wrong way, but I made sure to be there for her during the whole grieving period she was going through. I couldn't get through to her. It was like she had a demon, or she was possessed, and that possession led her to making bad decisions. I was only relieved that she didn't lose herself to a point that she went back to selling her body. I mean, we had money, so she didn't need to do that. Her grandmother's passing really hurt her and her niece because the niece also started getting sick. Mind you, Mary was wherever the place that she was in, so I had to take responsibility for her niece's health and make sure she got better treatment. It was really hard on me also because the niece couldn't bathe herself since she was disabled, so I had to do that. It was uncomfortable, I tell you, but I had to do what the best husband had to do. The time went by and I saw that Mary was not getting over the grief period, so one day when she came back home intoxicated to a point that she couldn't even remember her name. So I called the rehabilitation facility that was around our hometown and admitted her to the facility. I had to do something right. I missed my wife. I was also not able to cope with all the responsibilities I had. By God's grace, I had managed to fix things with my sister, even though she was still not telling what her problem was with Mary, but I was glad that I had gotten my sister back. She helped me a lot, especially with my niece. She was truly helpful. And my brother was slowly becoming available at home, which was another thing I was happy about. 6 months later, Mary got discharged from the facility. I was happy about the improvement she had made. She became the person I fell in love with. The day I saw her in Mr. Pistorius's office, she was doing way better than I had imagined. Even though her niece was happy to see her, my heart was full and complete. I mean, I had everything, my family, my wife, everything was just great, Little did I know that a cheater never changes its spots, right? I was so much in love and comfortable to even think of what would happen in the future. So at the restaurant, I had hired an old friend of mine that I had grown up with to manage it during the time when I was home taking care of my niece. He was doing a very good job and the business was booming. The money was coming in and I had nothing to worry about. A year later, or let me say 9 months later, I bought a bigger house not far from home because my wife was complaining about her peace and privacy. Her and my sister were not getting along, and it affected me somehow because I wanted my sister to get along with my wife, but on my side, that was not the case. It was like they were cat and dog. They were always arguing. So I decided to investigate the issue my sister had with my wife. My conscience kept telling me that whatever it was really dark and deep. I couldn't shake off the feeling that either my wife or sister once did something to someone else. I knew that my sister would never just hate someone without a valid reason, and their issue was not solvable. There was really no solution to it. So my solution was to find the root of the problem. During my investigation and findings, I found out that my wife was actually in a paid relationship. Or must I say she had a transactional regular client, which kept buying whatever service she was offering. And that person turned out to be my sister's baby daddy. Unfortunately, my sister found out and she was livid because whatever that it was had happened when my sister was pregnant. I remember very well that my sister was always in and out of hospital because of pregnancy complications due to the stress she was caused by her then boyfriend. I couldn't believe it, you know. I had blamed my sister for being bitter and thought she was jealous of my relationship because hers didn't work out, not knowing that my wife was actually the cause of all this. Well, not really my wife because she didn't ask the boyfriend to come for her service, but he did it willingly. So both of them were victims in the situation. Time went on, my sister started warning me about Mary, saying that she had heard that Mary was timing me. I was like, here we go again. I didn't know what the problem was with my sister, really. Yes, my wife had done wrong by her, but she had no reason to hate her because she didn't know that the client that had approached her was actually my crazy sister's unfaithful and selfish baby daddy. It had been a couple of months since we had moved into our new house. My sister was not happy about that as usual. She had thought I was choosing my wife over her after what my wife had done to her. But that was not the case. I had chosen peace, and I was fed up hearing them barking at each other every day. Their arguments made me do something I had never thought I would have done to my sister. I slapped her and defended my wife because she was starting to be a nuisance, not knowing that I was making the biggest mistake of my life. So one day I received a call from my sister asking me to come home. She wanted to discuss something with me. So I drove home and found my sister along with one of the guys that were working at my restaurant. I was confused about what was going on. In my mind, I had thought they were going to tell me that they were dating, maybe. My sister then started telling me that she wanted to show me something, so I gave her a go-ahead. The guy took out his phone and told me to scroll on the pictures he was showing me. I was still confused about why they would call me to show me the pictures of my wife in the restaurant. As I continued scrolling, one picture caught my attention. It was my wife looking cozy with the restaurant manager. They were sitting too close to each other. Even a child would have seen that something was going on between the two. So I decided to take this guy with me because I was going to the restaurant since I was already around the neighborhood. When I got there, some of my trusted workers were not there. So I asked the guy where others were, and he told me that the manager had fired them. I was surprised and angry that he had fired people I trusted, so I went straight to the manager's office. But before I got in, I overheard the manager and my wife talking. My wife was sitting on his lap. The manager kept nodding. I then heard my wife telling the manager that she wanted him and asked him to allow her to enjoy the night together. She even told him that they would disappear on the night of another branch launch. My mouth got dry in an instant as I was still eavesdropping. I heard the manager telling her that I was his childhood friend, so it was wrong of him to even agree to betray me. I didn't know why he was saying all that while he was busy chowing my wife. I trusted him, I trusted them, but both of them screwed me over. So I just decided to go back home without even asking the manager about the workers' issue. I was furious. I wanted to explode so bad because both of them had fooled me. Not to mention that I had called a wife. She had gone against her vows of being faithful and betrayed me. Not with a random person, but with the person I had considered a friend. Luckily, I had left the niece with my sister back at home. I couldn't allow her to see me angry. I was frustrated. I couldn't believe that I had been a fool the whole time. I wanted to find out when their affair had started, so I waited for my wife to come back home so I could go through her phone. Maybe I would find something tangible. A few hours later, she came back looking happy. I pretended that I was fine, as much as it was hard to pretend, but I had to, so that I would be able to gather evidence that she was really cheating. If I had asked her straight away, she would have denied it even though I had seen and heard them. That day, she didn't even kiss or hug me like she would do when she came from wherever she would be. That day, she went straight to the bathroom to take a shower, saying she was tired and she wanted to wash off the sweat she had. So when she was in the shower, I got a chance to take her phone. Luckily, I knew her passcode, so it was not a struggle to unlock it. What I found out when I paged her phone almost took me to an early grave. I couldn't believe it. The conversations they were having were mostly about me. She was degrading my capabilities as her man. She even told the guy that she was regretting marrying me because I was a boring guy and not sexually satisfying her. I was hurt beyond measure because I had thought everything was going well and our intimate moments were good. She never told me anything about her not being satisfied. As I continued going through their conversations, I found out that they once had a transactional relationship before. Surely that was when she was still selling her body. So she sold herself to the person I had been calling a friend and a brother for all the days of my life. Who are women, huh? Why are they so evil and venomous? These female species would really murder you and bury your body outside the yard, then live their lives like they had done nothing. But I couldn't allow her to just fool me like that and think I would not stay back and eat popcorn with her. The fact that they were even sharing their private pictures reeked me to the core. I hate people who treat other people as fools and think they could get away with everything. I forwarded the conversations and the pictures to my emails. I couldn't risk forwarding them to my phone because she would sometimes use it. Weeks later, I got tired of pretending, so I called our family lawyer and asked her to draft me divorce papers. Luckily, we were not married into any joint commune, so she would get anything that I had worked hard for. The only person who I thought about was the niece because she was going to be in the middle of everything. But I couldn't let them go free after they had made me a fool. So I had created a fake email account the day before, so I went to the restaurant to check how things were. When I got there, the manager asked him to check his emails. The look he had on his face was priceless. I then cut off our friendship since he had broken the bro code. I told him to forward them to the wife. So the day of the launch came. I think the restaurant's former manager didn't forward her the things I had sent to him. Everything went well and the party started. I was never one for parties. The loud music, the crowded rooms, the forced conversations with strangers, it all made me incredibly uncomfortable. But because it was Mary's big day and I had to pretend like we were okay in front of people, it was truly a hard thing to do. Having to pretend was not really my thing, to be honest. The bass thumped through the walls, the air thick with sweat and alcohol. I stuck close to Mary, feeling out of place and awkward, but she seemed to be having a great time, laughing and chatting with anyone who would listen. Yes, I was angry at her for what she did with my so-called childhood friend, but I had to be there for her, just as I had promised that I would always be there, and besides, I didn't want people asking questions and starting making their own assumptions. As the night wore on, I noticed Mary getting more and more flirtatious with a tall, handsome man named James. James was actually my business competitor, but Mary didn't know that. They seemed to have an instant connection, and I couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy. I tried to shrug it off, knowing that Mary was just a naturally outgoing person. But then things took a turn for the worse. I watched in horror as Mary led James into a darkened room that was in the far corner of the restaurant, a mischievous smile playing on her lips. She told me to follow them, and Mary told me to watch and learn. I didn't understand the meaning of what she was doing at first, but it really angered me when I discovered it. She bluntly told me that she wanted me to watch her getting pumped by another man. She even finished her statement by, "Maybe you will take notes and see how it's done." You know when you suddenly feel like your whole body is burning and your head is about to explode because of the rage that was brewing inside me. I was feeling my whole body shaking, not because of heartbreak, but because of rage. How could she disrespect me to that level in front of my enemy? She had no shame and self-respect. The thought of watching the woman I loved be intimate with another man filled me with a white-hot rage that I had never experienced before. I stormed off the porch, my heart pounding in my chest. How could she even suggest something like that? Was our marriage not enough for her? Did she not love me anymore? I found myself at a bar, drowning my thoughts in a sea of alcohol. The anger and confusion swirled around in my head, clouding my judgment and making it impossible to think clearly. As I stumbled home, the front door swung open and I was faced with a sight that I never in a million years thought I would see. There they were, tangled together on the living room floor. Mary and my sworn enemy, their bodies moving in a way that made my blood boil. I felt a surge of rage unlike anything I had ever felt before. How could she do this to me? How could she betray our marriage in such a blatant and disrespectful way? Yes, I was willing to forget about what she did with John, the restaurant's former manager. But after what I saw, there was no chance of us surviving. I stormed into the room, my fists clenched at my sides. I could see that they saw me, but they still continued. James was growling like a slaughtered animal, and Mary was busy enjoying every moment. I felt disrespected in my own house. The worst part was that my wife was being pumped by my enemy. In my house, imagine. I unleashed all of my anger on them, screaming and cursing like a madman. Every insult and accusation that had been building up inside me came pouring out in a torrent of emotion. I couldn't control myself. I found myself straggling Mary while she was still enjoying herself, until my siblings came in and begged me to stop. Mind you, that time I had even forgotten that they were coming to visit for the weekend. As I was still angry, I rushed to the tools room and took an electric cable. I went back to the living room and didn't ask any questions. I just whipped both of them. I didn't care that my siblings were there, but I had to do what I had to do. I wanted them to feel the pain that I was also feeling inside. I whipped them until I was sure that I was tired. Bear in mind, they were both still in their birth suit. The room was filled with the sound of my voice and their cries of shock and fear. I know that neither James nor Mary was aware of my enraged side. I felt a sick sense of satisfaction at the chaos I had caused, the control I had regained over a situation that had spiraled out of my grasp. But as the adrenaline began to fade, I saw the tears streaming down Sarah's face, and I just told myself that I wasn't done with her. But at the same time, I asked myself, what had I done? How had I let my anger get the better of me like that? I mean, I had unleashed my existing but invisible side of me in front of my enemy. I thought about my business and hoped that wouldn't affect it. I told James to get out of the house, and I was left with my siblings who were still in shock about what they had seen. After some time, I went to my office to check on the CCTV footage. Mary was so focused on James's Johnson to a point that she forgot that there were cameras around the house. So I watched the videos of them getting all kinky on each other. My blood boiled, so I created fake accounts on social media and posted the videos online. I was hurt, angry, disappointed, and impetuous. I wanted to destroy her life just like how she did with mine. She was selfish to infect me with her infection, and she thought I was not going to find out. The videos started trending, and I broke things off with her. My sister was really hurt because she had started warming up to her as someone in my life, but she disappointed her and did what she was best at. I told her to leave, and I was glad that she was earning her own money, so there was nothing that was going to connect me with her anymore. I hated her, and I still do. What she did was the most cruel thing a person could do to another person. She kept apologizing, but I was not going to forgive her. I vowed to myself that I would never get involved with a woman, not after what I had been through. I really thought Mary was different, but she was just like my previous wife. I was glad that my business didn't get affected, as I had taken action first and exposed James along with Mary. I don't know what happened to their businesses because I didn't care. I wanted to flush all the memories of Mary in my life because she was no longer a living factor to me. I made sure that she gets a taste of her own medicine when I reported the car that I had bought for her as a stolen good. Luckily, it was registered under my name. After the videos trended, I heard that James was actually a wanted suspect, so somehow the videos I linked helped the police department to catch him. Well, apparently James was not from here in the US. He had come here illegally because he had committed crimes in his country in Switzerland. I didn't understand how they couldn't catch James because he was a businessman, a known businessman at that. If they wanted to catch him, they would have easily. But they waited until I posted the video of him and Mary. I divorced Mary. The state wanted me to take 50% of all her assets, but I simply declined. I wanted nothing to do with Mary, so she might as well just enjoy her money and everything she owns. Yes, I helped her start everything until she gets where she is now, but I couldn't hold that against her. I wanted to close the whole Mary chapter in my life and start a new one in a clean slate. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. That's what I would tell myself, even though it wasn't helping in any way, but it made a difference. They say everything happens for a reason, right? So what was the point of taking her things or half of her things just because we were married under a community of property? It didn't make any sense to me because I was also making my own money, and I'm a very respectable and known businessman. I had opted to leave her the house that we were staying in since she had sold her grandmother's house to pay for her studies. It was the least I could have done. I was not thinking of her well-being, but her niece's. She started throwing shades at me on social media, causing drama and calling me names, not thinking what she was doing was not going to affect me in any way. She wrote about my weaknesses as a man on a public platform and shared with the whole world how much she regretted marrying a non-satisfying man like me. As much as those things bruised my man ego, but I didn't care much about any of them. She wanted to degrade me and my image, but she dismally failed because people were throwing sticks and stones on her comments, calling her all sorts of names. I was just that I was out of her life for good. As the months passed, I started to see glimpses of healing. The sharp edges of my pain began to soften, replaced by a sense of acceptance and understanding. I realized that my wife's infidelity was not a reflection of my worth, but rather a reflection of her own struggles and insecurities. I made the decision to forgive her, not for her sake, but for mine. Holding on to anger and resentment would only poison my own heart, preventing me from moving forward and finding peace. Moving on was a slow and arduous process. I had to rediscover who I was outside of my marriage, reconnecting with old hobbies and passions that had long been buried beneath the weight of my pain. I leaned on friends and family for support, finding comfort in their unwavering love and understanding. But through it all, I never lost sight of the most important lesson I had learned, that healing is a process, not a destination. It takes time and patience, self-reflection and self-compassion. And while the scars of my past may always remain, they serve as a reminder of the strength and resilience that lies within me. As I sit here now reflecting on the journey I have traveled, I am filled with a sense of peace and gratitude. I am grateful for the pain that forced me to confront my deepest fears and insecurities. I am grateful for the love and support that buoyed me in my darkest moments. And above all, I am grateful for the opportunity to start anew, to rebuild my life on a foundation of self-love and acceptance. So here I stand, a survivor of betrayal and heartbreak, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. And as I look towards the future with hopeful eyes, I am reminded that the best is yet to come. Never, I mean never ever give or take all the love that your heart offers and give it to someone who is not your blood. That is one thing I got to learn the hard way. It was not easy accepting it, but life goes on right and it has to move on. It taught me that I should rather use like or love that person with my lever, not my heart, because once it breaks, it's not really easy to repair it. I don't know if I dealt with everything the right way, but it was satisfying for me. If there is anyone who once came across the same situation, what was your take? How did you deal with everything? But the leopard doesn't change its spots, so if I were to take her back, how sure would I know that she won't repeat what she had done, and how would I ever forget the betrayal she once did? I don't know if I had made a good decision for what I did, but I know that I did, and I am grateful to my siblings for the support that they gave me and the therapy. I had finally let go of the hatred that I had against Mary, but I still don't care about her anymore. On the other hand, my competitor was transported back to Switzerland, and he was arrested for all the crimes that he had convicted. Right now, my life is a free and peaceful life. My only lover is my business. What are your opinions on everything? Please share them. I would like to know.